Blog Talk Radio.
You're tuned into N5D Radio, the next dimension in radio, where we bring you the hottest, in-depth, spiritual, metaphysical, esoteric conversations and news. Get ready for spirit, body, and mind to expand in 3, 2, 1.
Namaste and welcome to N5D Radio. I'm your host, Gregg Prescott, coming to you from the 99% quartz crystal sands of Sarasota, Florida. Wait, this isn't my show.
Oh, wow. Welcome to N5D Radio's Cosmic Awakening Show, where we are serving this galaxy and beyond. And my name is Michelle Walling, and I'll be your host for the next few hours. Today, we have a very special show for you. Larry is taking the night off, although we will probably hear from him in the second half of our show when we will be taking callers today. Tonight, N5D's Gregg Prescott is joining us as my guest and my co-host, and we will be taking a short trip down memory lane, and then we will be getting into some really hot information about what is happening in our reality. Now, we will be taking callers in the second half of the show. The number to call in about an hour to get into the queue is area code 646-716-8890. And Greg, that was a really cute little trick you played. Welcome to the Cosmic Awakening Show.
Oh, thank you. This is my second time. I was the first guest on here, so.
You were, and I thank you so much for starting off the show. Of course, we are, without you, this show would not be possible. So you are basically our lifeline to the world, and I appreciate it very much, and I know that Larry will be looking forward to talking to you later in the show. I would like to give a special shout-out to our Facebook friends, Facebook groups, and our cosmic family listening tonight. Greg and I are in a group called Enlightened Planet, and I would like to give them a special shout-out, and I thank them for providing a platform for like-minded souls to gather together. And I'd like to give a shout-out tonight to everyone in the chat room. Hi, Elizabeth Hart, and all the guests that we have joining us. And if you'd like to be a part of the chat room, you just click on the Blog Talk Radio Show arrow that takes you to that page, and then you scroll down at the bottom of the Blog Talk page, and you'll see the chat room. You can log in as a guest and be able to communicate with us that way. And Greg and I will be checking the chat room for any comments or questions that you may have. Or you can just give us a shout later in the show and say hi or ask a question. So Gregg Prescott is the creator and webmaster of N5D.com, as well as BodyMindSoulSpirit.com and HolisticCancerResearch.com. N5D is a database powerhouse of esoteric, metaphysical, and spiritual information. And so I'm proud to bring on my boss and my boyfriend, Gregg Prescott.
Aw. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for joining me today as my guest, because I felt that it would be a great opportunity to talk about this false light matrix series that we have had, as well as the Cosmic Awakening Show. And also I'd like to start out by sharing with all of our listeners tonight, if they're interested in hearing, about our journey together and basically a little bit of history on N5D. I want to touch on our purpose together. I want to touch on the things that have been happening to us over the last year, the amazing synchronicities that are abound, the wonderful glitches in the matrix that we have noticed, share our observations on where we've been and basically where we're going, or where at least we think we are going, which may not be, where everybody chooses to go. But I think that, our listeners tonight have a lot in common with, the things that are happening to us. And so if you don't mind, I'd like to explore your beginnings with N5D, or basically before that. When would you say that you awakened, so to speak, that where you figured out that there was more to this life than just college or working or basically being a slave to the system?
I got to preface this by saying I have no idea what Michelle's going to be asking me right now.
You're my guest and my co-host.
I know. So actually for me, and I know a lot of people are in the same boat as me, but I knew immediately. And for me, my awakening started at probably 3-4 years old. As soon as I walked into the church, I'd get this EBGB feeling. And I knew there was something not right about religion, and I couldn't put my finger on it. But I would constantly question my Sunday school teacher about our origins of mankind. And eventually my Sunday school teacher would get back to my parents saying that I was asking too many questions and kind of disrupting the classroom. But to me, it was more than that. And I think that it initially began then. And then I remember around maybe 11 or 12 years old, I saw this advertisement for a black magic book. And the reason I wanted to get it was because of there was a thing about astral traveling in there. And I thought, wow, that would be really cool. So I remember I saved up enough money for it, and I put the cash in an envelope, and I mailed it out. And it was during the summertime. I was just hoping that my parents wouldn't find it when it eventually got mailed to our house. But as luck had it, I went out to the mailbox, got the mail. The book was there. Nobody knew I had it. And I ended up reading about it. And, of course, at that age, I never astral traveled. But we're going to get into that a little bit later, so I'll save that story for a little bit later anyway. But for the most part, I've been awakened all my life. But there was a point in time where, I got away from things, and I just went off and, did the sports thing, played in a bunch of hard rock bands. I played lead and rhythm guitar in a bunch of hard rock bands also, and was heavily into sports as well. But I guess it wasn't until probably maybe 2007 or so that I found out about the Mayan calendar, and that was fascinating. And of course, the first thing I heard about the Mayan calendar that was, it's all this doomsday BS that you read on the internet. And the more I researched it, the more I realized that it was not a doomsday event. So what I wanted to do with all the information that I accumulated was to build a website and show that it's not the end of the world. And that was my first website that I built, which was Maya12-21-2012.com. And shortly after that, I asked Universe for ideas and direction on where I should go. And Universe specifically told me to build N5D.com and even gave me the name. So here we are 7 years later, and we're having a show on N5D Radio.
Well, I sure am glad you got rid of those dashes and the Maya dash 2012 dash what's going to happen dash end of the world. No, I think you were one of the first people, Greg, that basically was keeping everything calm and telling people that this was not going to be the end of the world, that it was going to be a day, normal day to most people. Although, that particular day and date, I was down in the bed, and I had ascension flu like never. I mean, I thought it was the flu, but I knew it was ascension flu, but I couldn't walk to the bathroom. I basically had to crawl to the bathroom on that date. I lost all sense of equilibrium. I was crawling on my hands and knees and grabbing furniture because I thought the room was turning upside down. So, and I was weak and I couldn't eat, and I had this for like 3 days, and I had it for 3 days after. So something happened. I know that most people, it came and went, and there were a lot of hopes, a lot of false light buildups as to, things could happen overnight. We could wake up the next day and be on the new earth. But I know that you always held your ground for people letting them know that, yes, we are going through a change, but in your opinion, it wasn't about just happening overnight. So ever since then, you've been providing information for people, and I'm just, this database that you have is amazing. So I would like to talk about, if you want to, I'd like to talk about a little bit about how we met. It's about a year ago, 2 days shy of being a year since we met. It seems like a lifetime.
Yeah, you stalked me.
I actually had no idea who you were before I found out about the conference. And I followed Andrew Bartzis there because I had been to a seminar in Mount Shasta, California. And that's where I met a few of my good friends, Lance White and Jeff Gates and Kelly Fluke and Julian Wells. They were all there at this conference. And afterwards, out, where Andrew was doing readings. It was interesting that when I got a reading, I scheduled a reading for Andrew. He kept putting me off, and he kept taking everybody else in front of me, making appointments because they were going way past what he could do at the conference. And I ended up being like the very last person at 10 p.m. And I know why now, because he had already read my record, and my records are redacted, which means there was a black marker just cutting out everything. So he wasn't, really able to tell me anything important because I either redacted them myself because I had chosen that I would know when it was time, or else they were basically redacted to keep me undercover for whatever my mission was here. So that was interesting that he didn't tell me. He should have just told me, oh, your records are redacted, just forget it. And but on the other hand, I got to meet some amazing people while waiting, and so I came to the conference to the Return to Atlantis conference here that you had in Sarasota, Florida. And lo and behold, we just kept running into each other. Yeah, basically, I would get on the elevator and the doors would open, and there you'd be all by yourself. It'd just be you and me. And then I left to go to the beach, and I walked out the door and was walking down towards the beach, and I ran into you.
Yeah, you did. And
Are you muted?
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm sitting right across from you, and I'm looking at your little red button bleeping there, and I thought, oh shit, he's muted.
I was just totally digging your monologue, and I was okay with you telling the whole story.
I know. You can just go hide in your corner now.
No. Well, as everyone knows, I'm like the king of introverts, and despite me having a show and prominent personality in this genre, I am like the biggest introvert you'll ever know.
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, you smiled a lot when we met, when we first kind of ran into each other. I mean, I knew who you were because of your picture. Honestly, I hadn't followed N5D before that, and I was like, okay, well, what is this N5D? And that's when I really got to start looking at some things. After we had met, I went back home and I really studied N5D, and I was blown away that you had so much in common with what I believed. Your postings were just right on. And back to how we met and everything. Yes. It was really funny because we kept running into each other when nobody else was around, and you're so shy and cute, and I had no idea that I was going to meet anybody there to have a relationship with. I was just digging the fact that we had so much in common to talk about. It was amazing. It fulfilled a part of me that was huge. Just I had done all my work, and it was synchronistic to where I just happened to be single at the time. And wow, we talked into the night. I barely got any sleep, and we've talked ever since.
Yeah, well, the thing is too, this was at the Return to Atlantis conference that we had, and what a lot of people don't realize is how much work goes into it. Helene and I were running around like chickens with our heads cut off all throughout. Whenever there wasn't a presentation, we were doing so many things behind the scene. And that afternoon when I ran into Michelle outside of the hotel, there was a lot of things I had to get done. And I remember asking her, well, if you don't have anything better to do, would you help me pick up some of the food for the beach party that we were going to have?
I said, hell no, you freak. Not really. I was like, oh, my God, Gregg Prescott's asking me to help him with the food?
Really? Anyway, so I have this, 2001 Chrysler Sebring, and we had to go to Earth Origins, which has the best organic food ever, but we loaded that thing up with organic food. As a matter of fact, we found crevices in that we forgot about because there was still food in there.
We left food in there. And it went bad and spoiled.
Well, we had plenty of food for that. Anyway, it was a good time for everyone there, and that's where we met. Yeah,
it was great. Since then we've had it. You and Helene had another conference in LA that we went to, and everything went really smooth.
Mm-hmm.
You since invited me to start writing for N5D, and then let's see, I think it was about December, you asked me to be your co-host on your N5D radio show. And at the time, I had a block in my throat chakra, and I was scared to death. I was not ready for people to hear my voice, and I did not know if I would be able to carry a conversation without going blank, without, wondering, oh, my gosh, what am I going to do if all of a sudden I freeze?
At that point, I was in between co-hosts because Kendra couldn't do it any longer. And, I've had some wonderful co-hosts with Heidi Cole and Kendra Gilbert. And then after Michelle said she wasn't able to do it, I brought aboard Sherry Sanchez. And I've gotten away from N5D radio for a while because there's just so much on my plate. And I don't know if I'll ever go back, but maybe I will. But being a host or a spot host or a guest, yeah, I'll do this.
Well, I'm really glad that you are doing this because we have a lot of wonderful things to share tonight.
Yeah.
One of the things would be I'd like to talk about how our truth has changed just in the very short time that we've been together. Of course, we came together. There was no doubt in my mind whatsoever, no doubt in your mind, through the synchronicities and everything that happened, that we came together to work on this as a team, to work on N5D, to share what we felt was our truth. But what we've seen is a huge increase, I would say, beginning this year, in the amount of information that has come across that has blown everything else out of the water. And I think the truth that we had then may not all be true today.
I agree. Things have changed a lot, and I guarantee a lot of people out there listening right now, you might read an article tonight or tomorrow that's going to change your mind completely of everything you've thought about up until this point. So, that's the way we've been. We've learned so much in the past year, and we're just trying to go in the right direction. We would never, ever, ever mislead anyone. And what we're just telling you right now on N5D is our version of what we're learning and what is the truth right now.
Yes, I think we're all growing together. And I know N5D probably was started out with, I think, some things that people might consider to be new age, and that's okay because that is what drew me into agreeing with a lot of things that you had posted. You also had your own version of what you thought was happening, and a lot of that still stands true today. You basically know which direction you're going, and you know your path, and that's one constant that stays. But for instance, we've had a little bit of reflection upon what ascension truly is. I mean, are we really ascending to a fifth dimension, a new Earth? Right now, it's kind of hard to say that. We may actually have another plan, and we'll talk about that here in just a little while. But I wanted to point out about N5D that we have to have those articles that were posted. At the time they were posted, they sounded like that's what that was what was going on at the time. That was the vibration at the time. And what we had to do, we have to leave those in there. We can't go and just start deleting all these, articles and say, well, we have raised our vibration frequency and now we have privy to so much more information, because we have to let those newcomers that are awakening and maybe are a little new agey, but they're really truth seekers at the same time. We have to leave those articles for them, because I think we've also found that there's a progression in your spiritual awakening as far as how it pertains to your body as well, and that involves the chakras, and we'll be talking about that in just a little while. So a few teasers for everybody as we go, but everything that we've come to learn together, it's been mind-blowing, so quick, so fast, and has seemed to come into a particular sequence. And everything has served as a piece of the larger puzzle. Now, I'm one that likes to think a lot and likes to really, sometimes I'll overthink things and I'll be running things by you and everything, and you're the one who's just always calm, and you're like, I think you're overthinking it. Just go into your heart and just feel it out. I'm like, but wait, this is really important. This could be it. This could be the answer to what's going on. So what happens is I end up running across things. I'll overthink it. You'll simplify it for me, and then we'll have some confirmations and synchronicities around these things that we've come across, just verifying that we're on the right track. And now a lot of our wonderful awakenings to some bigger things started with, what would you say, Greg, like Robert Morning Sky's material, even though that's, has a little bit of info in it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, no matter what you hear, and people that know me know I'm not a big religious person at all, but you can find some beautiful truths in no matter what you look at. So, and I'm not dissing Robert Morning Sky either, because I know that he's following his own truth, and he enlightened me to a lot of amazing stuff. But that was one of the first things that really set us on the path of where we are right now. Mm-hmm. And he does. Personally, I think he does have a lot of amazing material. It's just really hard to decipher, what is the truth and what isn't.
Well, and absolutely. I mean, it gets so exciting when just out of the blue we get links to things like that. To Morning Sky. Another one was Dan Winter. Yes. Basically confirming the history of mankind, that man was put on this earth, that humankind wasn't created on the planet, that humans were created as a basically a skin suit for people to incarnate into, and that our DNA was tampered with, and we came to this realization as we started listening or reading different things, that there was always an opposite to. We would read something, it would be awesome, we would really be into it, and we'd be excited, and then like some said, Inky was the good guy, and then we'd read something else, and then all of a sudden Enlil's the good guy. We were trying to trace back to, the bloodlines, and like Archangel Michael, what side was he on? And we started questioning it, and we got to. Do you remember which one it was that says that basically Archangel Michael was on Enlil's side, which was the bad guy's side?
It's so confusing at this point.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
So I don't want to quote anybody, but basically we thought we found the truth, and I thought, that could that be right, Greg? That Archangel Michael could be on the bad guy's side? And
well, I'll tell you what. One thing people need to think about is that Zecharia Sitchin has some amazing material, but the problem is he's a 33rd degree Freemason, and he met with the Vatican, and darn well that they said, well, you can release this information if you twist it around and throw some disinfo in there and whatever. So from this point forward, we're really trying to decipher. Nobody's really gone in and really research the cuneiform that Zecharia Sitchin deciphered, and I would really like to know the truth. So what we're really basing our opinions on are other people's interpretations and what really resonates with us as the truth.
Yeah, when we get excited about something, we know we're on the right track, and then we get sort of confirmation or synchronicity. We'll say something, and then all of a sudden we'll get a post from somebody on Facebook.
Well, the perfect example of this is when we were, we were researching Robert Morningstar's material, Morning Sky's material, and he was saying that when you're on the right path, feathers will appear out of nowhere.
Oh, my God.
I was talking to Michelle. Michelle was in the pool, and at the time, we have this screened-in pool. There was one screen that fell off and just kind of deteriorated, so we ripped it out.
On the ceiling part.
On the ceiling part of the lanai, and a feather fell into the pool right in front of Michelle.
Right in front of my face.
And we were talking about something, some awakening topic.
About feathers. You said feathers.
Yeah.
You said, I guess we'll be on the right track when feathers are falling out of the sky. And a feather fell out of the sky, and I watched it left to right, floating down, floating, landed right on the water, right in front of my face.
And even today, we went to the beach. We were working all day, and we just said, screw it, let's take a little time for ourselves. So we went to the beach about 4 o'clock, and as we were walking to the beach, I've never seen so many feathers on the beach ever. And I've lived here in Siesta Key for 3 years or so.
Yeah. It was amazing. But Morning Sky's material really resonated with me, and I always overthink, and I'm trying to study and find the flaws or find what's going on, with this or that. But the interesting thing that you have to realize is not, anything that we're looking for outside of ourselves is not going to be the 100% truth. But what I'm really good at is picking out pieces of it that, resonate. So we're able to add it to the bigger puzzle. And there's a way that our guides or our higher self or our future selves, whoever it is that's working with us, there's a way that they let us know what's next. And so then I came across the Wingmakers material, and I was like, oh, my gosh. Now Gregg doesn't sit down and read all this stuff. I will read to him different parts that really, resonate. And the Wingmakers material really got me thinking about the overall reason that we're really here. I just kind of found out today, though, by listening to another Lisa Harrison Collective Imagination interview, that some of the material on the Wingmakers site may actually have been changed from the original 5 interviews. The what's the guy's name? James.
James. That's all he goes by.
His last, the starts with an N.
Oh, the Neruda.
Yeah, the Neruda.
But that wasn't James.
Oh, okay.
Right, James is different.
The Neruda, so the Wingmakers material kind of tied Morning Sky stuff together. It tied a lot of the history of mankind together, and I know that some people had already come across this material and had written some things, but at that time, I think between us, Zecharia Sitchin was it was all we had really gotten into, and I had read the books, and I know that you haven't read the books because you don't sit around and read a lot of books. I had read probably 200 books before I ever met you, and I was like a little walking encyclopedia on, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? I mean, here I had you just right there where I could ask you anything, and you've always said, this is what I really respect about you, is you always say, well, that sounds right, but just go within and let's just see what's happening, with the world. So another thing that we watched was all of a sudden you said, have you ever seen the 4400 series on television? And I was like, no. Well, you said, well, here, I can get it on the internet here. And we spent days and days watching the 4400 television series, it was very interesting because I would ask a question, what do you think about this or that, or I'm kind of thinking the topic of this, and then we would get on to the next and we'd talk about it and laugh. We'd get on to the next show, and sure enough, they would say exactly what I had asked.
And there's like so many hidden things in there. Now, we were looking at I looked at the producer's name. His name is Scott Peters. And I went to this anagram generator online, and I was putting together words, but I thought, wait, Scott, Peters, and I saw that my letters in my name, and actually, if you break down Scott Peters, it spells Prescott, ETs.
Yeah, and so there were so many things that were amazing. It talked about a group of people being taken up in a spaceship and given a special power, and then brought back to Earth. And the ETs were hoping that these people would change Earth in a good way, because they had powers that one could heal and one could do this, one could do that. It ended up being a total disaster. They ended up having like an anti a shot you could take that would keep you from
myosin.
Yeah, all this stuff, but it wasn't really the whole premise of the show that got us. It was the topics and the little buzzwords that they put in from Hollywood that got our attention. We're looking at each other, and I kept going, Greg, did you come back from the future and bring us this? And then we figured out about the Prescott ETs thing.
Yeah.
And you just happened to be big on anagrams, and so that was the day when I looked at you and my eyes were real big, and I said, oh my God, are we creating our own reality?
Well, the thing is, too, and I haven't told a lot of people. I think I might have mentioned this once on my N5D radio show, but I had a dream, I don't know, I think 2010 or so, that I dreamt that I sent myself from 26 years into the future, into today, in present time, back in 2010, because the global mass wasn't high enough, and I needed to come back and help raise the global mass. So I remember somebody asking me in my dream, "Who are you?" And my answer was, I am a master copy of myself. And I'm telling you, it just seems so real, and it makes you wonder about timeline jumping. And as a matter of fact, we just had an article on N5D about that's related to that, about how people there's this amazing time anomaly that's going on, and just about everybody in this genre knows about it and feels it, that time, there's something really, really different about time and how we're perceiving it. And the example that I used, and I posted this on the N5D Facebook page, was that it was one evening, and I felt like it was only 9:30, but I felt like, God, it has to be after midnight. And I looked at the clock, and it was only 9:30. And I know that a lot of people are going through this, and they're feeling the same thing, that time is really, there's something really strange going on with time. And I know you're feeling the same thing, too.
I am. And, people were contacting me. Some were saying, but some people are not sleeping very much, but I'm sleeping a whole lot. Does that mean that I'm not on your same wavelength? And the answer is no, of course that doesn't mean that. But all it means is that, if you listen to your body, if you're not sleepy and you wake up and you're wide awake, then get up. If you're sleepy and you feel like you're not getting enough sleep, then sleep. Because basically our bodies are adjusting to the energies that are happening that are coming to us right now.
Well, one thing too you got to think about, and I forgot who mentioned this, but it was a valid point, that when you're experiencing these lapses or changes in time, is it possible that there is this master person that's going through and timeline jumping, trying to recreate timelines either for or against us, but somehow it's interfering with our own perception of time?
Well, now Andrew Bartz has said when you had him on your radio show that's what you were doing, spot on, that you were time jumping. So, you're bound to be here with a group time jumping. And I would say that, from what I've seen by being around you all the time, and basically with my precognition, and then the things start happening right in front of us. We could say something, and then a few minutes, like within 2 minutes on the television, they'll say that word.
What about your dream last night?
Well, that was pretty cool. We both dreamed this.
Yeah.
I dreamed of, a lot of times things will flash in my head, either right before I fall asleep or right before I wake up. They could be Facebook posts that are like my guides or my future self or whatever talking to me, and I never can freaking remember what it is. But this happened right when I woke up in the middle of the night. I saw I hadn't opened my eyes. I saw a black circle with a white circle in the middle. It flashed at me. And then I saw a white circle with a black circle in the middle. That flashed at me. And then I had the knowing that everything here had its opposite. And that the meaning, as I sat with that in my heart center for a little while, I realized that could apply, it does apply to everything on the planet, because I've noticed the anomaly of everything having two meanings. Almost, as we're trying to figure things out, they have two meanings. But I also figured out that what if the Earth has its other self, another Earth, a polarity Earth that is in a positive timeline? What if there's another galaxy, or a mirror galaxy, or a mirror cosmos? It was basically an amazing confirmation, but then you dreamed it.
Yeah, I had the same dream, and then today I'm like, okay, let's both draw what we saw, and it was identical to each other, and we didn't draw them in front of each other, and then we just basically flipped our pages over and showed each other what we had, and it was identical.
Well, what do you think it means?
I thought, one of the things I thought, it definitely has something to do with polarity. It even is reminiscent. The first thing that came to my mind are the circles that you see as part of the yin-yang. But I also thought about, how it portrayed a bubble inside of a bubble. Mm-hmm. And that's something I've been talking about a while, how the Matrix, to me, in my own perception, it feels like we're inside of a bubble, which is the Matrix, but there's a grander bubble on the outside, which could be the false light Matrix.
Right.
Where we enter into the reincarnation system and get suckered into doing this all over again. So that's my bubble in the bubble interpretation. But the black circle with the white light could be the dark matter that exists. It could be the other possibility outside of the Matrix. Mm-hmm. Where you have all this dark matter where you can create infinitely whatever you want to create.
Absolutely. I know that this was a sign for me to, keep going down the path of what it was confirmation to me. And I'm just going to go ahead and skip forward, and then we can backtrack a little bit. But I have been on the path recently of realizing that instead of choosing, for myself personally, instead of choosing reincarnation again, which we talked about in a lot of our articles, the false light matrix, and how the light at the end of the tunnel is basically a trap to bring us back in and make us use our free will, whatever that is, choice to come back because we did something bad to somebody else and we saw our life review and we're like, oh man, all right, I'll go back in and I want to bounce out my karma and do all this stuff. Well, it's a trap, and to keep us reincarnating over and over to steal our energy, because they can steal our energy while we're in a body, and they need that energy to survive. So, but I realized that this time, if some anomaly doesn't happen where I keep my body at a youthful state, and I do actually pass out of the body, I'm not going back into the light. I'm not going into the real light. I'm not going to the dark. I'm basically getting the heck out of the matrix and moving out of the bubble within the bubble, and I want to get outside of the matrix. And this is one thing that we're working on trying to figure out right now.
Well, one thing, I tell people this all the time, try to be your own leader, use your own discernment, but one thing I've been doing, and I've been using myself as a guinea pig for this, I drink ozone water. I have an ozone machine by my water cooler, and I put ozone into the water, and I firmly believe that that's going to help. Well, first of all, ozone has a ton of benefits, but what I'm doing on top of that is, while I'm putting the ozone into the water, I'm also adding the positive intention that all of my codons are open. And not only do I do that, but I also say it in reverse, because as we know, those in power use reverse language against us. I'm trying to use it in my own benefit, but not for benefit for me, because all my intentions are for the benefit of humanity. So if I can somehow find a way to open up all my codons, how much can I help humanity? It would be such a pleasure to do something like that. So I say the same thing in reverse, which would be Nipo Erasnodak Yumfala, which is all my codons are open. I say that 3 times, and then I say, please send this to every cell in my body. And I'm experimenting. I'm trying things on my own to create something in this third dimensional reality that's going to benefit everyone. And if it means making myself a guinea pig, then so be it.
Well, we also try to do things different in our routine. We tried that for a while.
Oh, yes.
It's like we have dinner for breakfast and breakfast for dinner, and if we made the bed one day, we didn't make the bed the next day, basically because we know we're powerful beings, and we know that we can change the matrix with our actions, with our words, with our intentions, with our imagination. And so we've been trying to throw that wrench in the engine, that glitch in the matrix.
The archonic programming.
Yeah. Now, I'll just go ahead and explain that for those who haven't read any of the articles. We consider that to be a software program, so to speak, that is overlaid on top of the organic structure, which would be, there's an organic earth, there's an organic human template, an organic earth template, an organic human template. And we feel like that earth and humans were created to work symbiotically together, where humans would be the stewards of the planet, and earth would be a place where people could come here, where beings from other planets, or even that have been on starships or spaceships for a very long time, wanting to have this physical, the most dense experience that you could have in a physical body, besides being a rock or something that doesn't move, where you could come here and incarnate into a body on paradise and have the polarity experience, but it never was meant, I don't think, by the creator of those templates to be such a dark, dense energy vampirism system. So, of course, we watched, speaking of the Matrix, we watched the Matrix trilogy together, and that was amazing because we had the same kind of crazy experiences with that as we did the 4400 and Morning Sky, just the daily confirmation. Just how my jaw would drop, and nothing makes your jaw drop.
if I could jump in here too, I see in the chat room Elizabeth Hart was asking about the codons, and I didn't explain that, and thank you for bringing that up, Elizabeth. In our body, we have 64 codons, but only 20 are open. So I suspect that when our DNA was manipulated by the Anunnaki, they limited the amount of codons that we have open. Now, what we're seeing in more recent times, we're seeing children that are being born with 23, 24 codons being open, and they're exhibiting these amazing abilities. So imagine if all of your codons were open, what you could possibly do. You could materialize anything you wanted to from thin air. You could dematerialize yourself. You could travel, bilocate. You could do whatever you wanted to do, and so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Is who knows if it'll work, but I believe it will, and I've got nothing to lose. So that's why I'm trying to open up all of my codons.
Now, I wrote an article on the children, the special children, and the lady who did that. Do you remember her name? The lady who did the interviews about the children?
Yeah.
Mary
Rodham.
She interviewed these children that were having these past life recalls, and some children that had telepathy, and basically some amazing things that we have to look forward to. And yet they only had 2 to 3 codons more than us. Mm-hmm. And if we had 20 and they had 23 open and we were supposed to have 64, we got an amazing way to go. What's really cool is that science was actually able to compare the number of codons that we had active with these children. And I have a feeling, since science is involved, that they may try to use this and twist it into something that it's not, because that's what science has usually done to try to confuse us. But the evidence is there on these children. We have 20, they have 23 or 24 open. So
now in the chat room, Jeff Gates is saying, but aren't you enforcing the 20 only being open by acknowledging the rest being closed? Instead, try I am without codon limitations. And that's a good point, but what I'm trying to do, Jeff, is to work with what we have right now. And I understand where you're coming from, but another thing we're going to be talking about later is the pineal gland and the effective uses, or why we even have it within us, as well as the chakra system. What I'm trying to do is use the tools that we have for our benefit, and I'm going in that direction. But I think that what you bring up is a valid point, and if you want to, maybe you can experiment in that direction, and we can compare notes.
Now, Jeff, welcome, Jeff, to the Cosmic Awakening show in our chat room, because Jeff is one of the very special friends of mine that, along with him and Lance White and a lot of other people, we have a lot of similar interests and beliefs. And I believe that Jeff is going to be right there along the front lines of things to come. And I'm sure that he'll come out of his introverted self-hiding very soon. He likes to go to a lot of these conferences and go ahead and meet people one-on-one and ask some of the biggest, most wonderful questions, basically trying to push the envelope and get us to come out with the answers. But Jeff, I think you're going to have a big part in bringing forth some very important information in the future. Let's get back on track here. We've got a whole slew of callers in the queue that I would like to take in about 15 minutes. Maybe start taking some callers. Mm-hmm. From the Matrix trilogy, we dove right into the false light matrix information, and if you think about the way that all unfolded, that was amazing. The history of mankind, and then the Matrix, and then we had to get all that information about the Matrix done first before we hit the false light matrix information. Now, there are a lot of people that already knew about this. The pioneers, they knew about the false light matrix. And what I mean by that, as we explained earlier, is this it seems like that we have a software overlay on top of the organic template of not only Earth but humankind, and what else we don't know. I mean, it could be even over our solar system. It could engulf all of the cosmos, or it couldn't just engulf our universe. Our solar system or our galaxy. I don't know, but what I do know is that it inspired us to dive into it, and we had Cameron Day on our show, on the Cosmic Awakening show. We've had articles by Cameron and Wes. We read the Wes Penray papers. Now we just haven't had time to compose the questions to talk to give Wes a chance to answer some questions from us.
But we have been interacting with Wes through Facebook, and he has been answering some of our questions.
Yeah, I mean, his papers really, really answered a lot of questions. I mean, I was just on this hell-bent path. I want to know the truth. I want to know the whole story. And I called out to the universe and said, look, damn it, if you want me to be out here talking to people, to writing articles, you need to give me this information so I can, pay it forward, bring it forward, because that's what I feel like I'm here to do, and nothing gives me more pleasure than to just give, the flavor of the day, in writing articles. And Greg, you've been doing that. You were talking about that article that you wrote about time. That one is called, by the way, let me pull it up here.
Yeah, it's been a huge article. It went viral on Facebook.
Bizarre time anomaly is sweeping the planet. Well, what's great is that when you have something happen to you, you can get an article right out and people can go, wow, I'm going through that too. Mm-hmm. There's been glitches in the matrix, and we can see them. I'm going to give you another example. I was coming, I'm here, at N5D Studio. I was coming to the airport yesterday in Texas, and my son had been driving my car, and he had the radio on, and I did not prefer the music that he was listening to, so I hit my CD. Now, I was listening to a CD that I've had in there for a long time. I'm like, this isn't quite working, so I pushed the CD up button, got to the next one, and it was this older CD that I had not remembered putting in there, and excuse me, it was shit, Greg, do you remember who it was?
Little Feat.
Yeah, was it Little? Yeah, it was Little Feat. Some funky rock from the 70s, right? And I was jamming, I was thinking, well, if I was stoned or if I was on acid, this would really sound good, because it was along that genre, of really funk, get down, smoke a joint, maybe have a few drinks and funk out, right? But I was listening to it, and then I got to the airport. I got through security, and I'm in the terminal, and they play a Little Feat song on the speakers, and the odds of that are what, Greg?
100%.
Well, because it did happen, yes, it was 100%. Yep. But really what I'm saying is that Little Feat is it's people know of it, but for me to hear that and then get into the airport and hear it in the airport, no. They usually play very popular music in the airport for people. So that just, is a little confirmation, but it's also kind of like a glitch in the matrix, to me. It's almost like we are creating what's happening to us right now. So I was talking about the false light matrix. You wrote the article, How to Exit the Reincarnation System. Uh-huh. I wrote an article before that called How to Exit the Matrix. Mm-hmm. And then we had this great series on the archons. Cameron Day calls them the ankle biters because the archons means ruler, and he says he doesn't want to call them rulers or lords. So he started calling them the ankle biters. But if you'd like to, let's just do a really quick run through, Greg, of your understanding of the archons, who are they, and how they are controlling, or they think that they are controlling our reality.
Sounds like a Seinfeld question. Who are these archons? I would like to know. Well, actually, I have another article, too, called Archons and Archangels, and I was typing in the chat room, too. If you think about the archangels, you can also look at it as archon angels, and when you see the EL at the end of anything, any name, El as in the Elohim, in the Bible, Genesis 1 verse 26, it says, let us make man in our own image. And you have to ask yourself, who is us and who is our? Now, a lot of people will say, well, that's the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, but that can't be true because the Son wasn't born yet. So our is actually the Elohim. Let us make man in our own image. Now, getting back to the archons, and specifically any archangel that you want to talk about that has the EL in it, like Michael and Gabriel or Uriel. El is the Elohim. These are the people. These are the creators, the creator gods. They're not source. They're not creator. They're the creator gods. Big difference there. So you have to look at that and what kind of message you're going to be getting from them. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's going to get bad messages or, that they're not going to lead you in the right direction. But from what I've seen, they'll tell you a little, for those who channel, they'll tell you a lot of good stuff. And then for some reason, they'll lead you down the wrong path. And I've seen it time and time and time again. So they don't want you getting too close to the truth. So that's what we're doing here on N5D is we're really trying to break down the matrix and give you the most updated information about what the truth is. And that involves the whole archonic presence right now. And these archons, they basically, they can't incarnate in the physical, but what they will do is attach themselves basically to you and feed off of the negative energy. That's why when you're watching the 6 o'clock news, which we don't do anyway, but if you were to watch the 6 o'clock news, you never feel good afterwards. You never feel good watching the news and basically anything that they have on TV. So, it's basically the archonic forces feeding off of our fears.
Yes, I wrote an article called Do We Need Our Chakras? And basically, I think what we've uncovered is the chakras could be the part of the overlay on the human body when the human body was tampered with, I think, around the time of Atlantis. And the chakra system can actually be what they plug into. They're energy centers, and they can actually be what they plug into to siphon off of our energy. And there are, in my article, I talked about how some people are actually getting rid of or saying they're getting rid of their chakras. And I covered, why would you want to do that? I actually tried it for a while, and it's not getting rid of it, but I actually, I have the ability to, in my imagination, to bring my chakras in, to close them up, or to actually open them up and, share my energy. And in situations where I'm in public and I want to protect myself, I will close down my energy centers, keep them to myself, and keep my energy, my aura, from being connecting too much with other people, because I'm an empath and I can take on their energy and their feelings that way. So I had practiced closing my chakras before, but actually I closed down my chakras and I seem to have caught a cold. And it lasted for about 4 or 5 days, actually just barely getting over it since my last show. And when I started feeling better is when I opened my chakras again. So I don't really know if that says anything about whether I still need them right now or not. But I think the conclusion, is that it's an individual decision. It's something that you might want to research if it rings a bell to you about your chakras. And personally, I feel like on the path of raising my vibration, I have used my chakras as a tool to get to where I am now, to clear my body. And with the chakras, of course, the pineal gland is part of that chakra system. But Greg, you wanted to say something about the chakras.
Yeah, actually, and I teeter back and forth on the whole chakra system thing. Basically, our chakras are energy centers, and the lower 3 chakras, the sacral, the root chakra, and the solar plexus, I'm sorry, not in that order, the root, sacral, and solar plexus, if each one of those chakras are energy centers and you're living in those lower 3 chakras, that pretty much is telling the archons, buffet is open.
Yeah, come feed on me.
So you can actually, on the positive side, you can actually use even your aura, because your aura is a reflection of where your overall chakras are. You can actually use that in a positive way. And if you're seeing that your aura is like red, orange, or yellow, then you have some work to do, and that the archons are basically feeding off of you. But once you get up to the green, which is the center of all chakras, and higher, the green would be in the heart, and higher, then you're basically starving the archons. They can't feed off of you at that point. So you can use them in a beneficial way while we do have them. And I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm teeter-tottering back and forth whether they're beneficial or not. But if they are energy centers, it does make sense that archons would feasibly be able to feed off of them.
Right. And as Jeff in the chat room had mentioned earlier, we have so much power, and we have the power to basically keep them from feeding off of us anymore by intention and by raising our vibration, which I believe takes us takes us out of our lower three chakras and into our heart center. And I really feel like there's more than one ways to skin a cat here. I think when you get
That's
to
a horrible saying.
I know it is. When you get to
how about kill two birds with one stone?
Okay, we could do that.
No, that's horrible too.
But
I know what you're saying, though. It's just an expression.
I think, and I'm like the cliche queen too.
All I know is.
Yeah. I think that once we become more heart-centered and grounded and in our heart space, it basically, we don't use those chakras anymore. Once we're not here just on fight or flight instinct of our survival chakra, and instead we're actually, consciously grounding energies that are coming in through our crown chakra into our heart and grounding our bodies into the planet and taking in that flow, that current. All those things really help us to move away from being fed on. So naturally, they will, if let's just say that they're octopuses and they've got tentacles, one tentacle in each chakra, or they have connected to the base of your spine, and they're basically etherically attached to your lower chakras. Well, once you start standing in your power and being heart-centered and all that stuff, they just disengage and they leave and go somewhere else. But an interesting thing I wanted to talk about that we've realized, Greg, is by looking back at our life, you were, like you said, you were in a hard rock band. You listened to a lot of acid rock, a lot of Ozzy, a lot of Black Sabbath, a lot
metal, baby.
Really heavy metal. And I think that for a lot of people that are listening tonight, and for us, I think that we had to go undercover in this incarnation because we had somehow either not gone through the incarnation system for a while, or if we did, each time we woke up, but for some reason, we had to sneak in the back door in this lifetime, which means we had to pretend like we were here just to incarnate so we can balance our karma and let them feed off of us, because that's the game. They want people who are going to come in this dense reality and they can feed off of. Now you have something to say about that, I'm sure, about coming in the back door.
Actually, well, I wrote an article on music and vibration on N5D, and basically, I was thinking about, some of this music that I listen to. As a hard rock lead guitarist, one of my favorite leads is, I think it's by Brad Gillis on Night Ranger. It's called Don't Tell Me You Love Me. And if you think about the lyrics of that song, Don't Tell Me You Love Me, that's such a low vibrational title for a song.
Don't tell me you love me.
But I'll tell you what, when I hear that song, it's the flow of the lyrics, the guitars, the lead is amazing. I feel great when I hear that song.
Yeah.
And it's the archons certainly are starving when I hear that song. There's nothing they can do to make me feel bad. So really, when you listen to music, Don't get so wrapped up into I only have to listen to meditation music or ambient music or whatever. Listen to what makes you feel good, and when you feel good, you raise your vibration.
Yes, but what I was saying about going undercover is that I had a pretty rough life. I would have to say, tough childhood, and had a lot of opportunity for them to feed off of us. And I think that by going in the back door undercover, I had to play that role for a lot of years, allowing them to feed off of me before it was my time to wake up. Because it's almost like the stealth bombers, we're here and all of a sudden we wake up and it's like, oh shit, they were not expecting that. It was like our ace in the hole, pretty much, for a lot of us to begin to wake up to who we are.
There's a question in the chat room by James Gaddis, James J. Gaddis. He's asking, could they send others to this matrix as a form of punishment, such as other aliens?
Well, I don't think it's as much a punishment as it is, the human body is the one vehicle that they have constructed that they can use to trap some of the highest vibrational, most incredible beings, not only in this universe, but have possibly come from other universes. Because when you are incarnate, you go through the tunnel, the womb, and you have that veil placed over your eyes and you forget who you are. And unless you have some sort of secret mission where you wake up when you're 3 or 4 years old, or you wake up like Greg when you're a little bit younger, where you realize, church is not your thing, and, you're interested in black magic, I'm sure there were still some opportunities that they could feed off of you, Greg, because, you partied a little bit, when you were younger. We got all that out of our system when we were younger, but I think that not too many opportunities, because fun rather than basically giving them some negative energy. You were just full of positive energies, doing things that you enjoyed, and music was one thing that you really enjoyed. So I would say that punishment, no, probably come and get stuck in my reality, yes, absolutely. Because when you get that veil put over in between your brain, in between your two hemispheres, and you don't know who you are, then that's an easy way to get caught in their system. And unless you do the work to wake up and make your intentions not to be part of their matrix, or under their control, or be siphoned from their energy, then they have an open buffet, just like Red was saying.
Now, earlier, James was asking, just as in the Matrix, whoops, I just lost it because the screen went up. Where is it? Here. Okay, just as in the Matrix, do they turn people to enforce their will to keep people in the Matrix?
Oh, yes, and I feel like what they do is they use trickery, and we can talk about the false light at the end of the tunnel. Now, I'm not so sure that all of the light at the end of every tunnel is false, but I think that there's a construct in the Matrix that they created. It's in the astral realm, which is the fourth dimension, which all dimensions are part of the Matrix from what we've uncovered, even the heavens that they have described with many mansions and the summer lands and all the different places that you can go and rest. And basically the false light at the end of the tunnel, that construct was created to where when you leave the body, you go through the tunnel, you're drawn in magnetically. They have technology that pulls you inwards, and you basically float towards it, and they will have either your guide that you recognize waiting for you, or they can morph into your loved one, your mother, your father, your grandmother, grandfather, somebody that you're close to, your dog or whatever. and then talk you into, or not talk you, but basically lead you by the hand, and you go through a life review. And this reality that they've created is so horrible that when you forget who you were, you end up doing bad things to other people. I mean, I can say that I haven't lived, the greatest life before I woke up. I haven't followed the golden rule my whole life, and there's a lot of things that I would say, yep, I want to go back and change that if I didn't know that it was all set up.
Now, in the chat room, they're really getting off on the aura topic. And what I can tell you, just if you want to really, the simplest way I can explain this is if you really want to see your aura, just go into a bathroom and look into a mirror. And hopefully there's in most bathrooms, there's a light color on the wall, usually a white or a light beige. And focus in on perhaps the corner of your shoulder as you're looking at the reflection of yourself in the mirror. And what you're going to see is this very thin, maybe about an inch, no wider than that, but an inch of clear, translucent energy coming off of your body. And then from that point, if you continue to focus and you can maintain your focus throughout, you're going to see your aura go out maybe about 6 inches from your body, and it's going to go all around your body. And whatever that color is basically your overall aura. And what's going to happen, the first time you see it, you're going to see it really briefly, and you're going to get so excited that it's going to go away, and you're going to be, oh my God! But you're going to get so excited too that you're going to want to do it again. And the more you can keep your composure, the longer you can basically watch your aura. And if you can keep your focus long enough, you'll actually see an outer aura that comes in around that. That's even on the outside of that aura. So. I've got several articles on N5D. There's a search button at the upper right-hand corner of every page on N5D. Just type in aura, and you're going to find a bunch of articles on N5D on how to see your aura. So I hope that helps everyone.
Thank you, Greg. And part of the false light matrix that I wanted to get into was, the control system, society, the society programming that we've basically been taught from, as Bartsis says, the time that we come out of when we're born at the hospital and we get slapped on the ass instead of greeted with a nice warm mother, with our mother, where we're placed on our mother's chest. Instead, we get slapped and prodded and poked and get all these, vaccinations and stuff. Welcome to the world. It starts with that, and then, of course, we've got school, and we've got basically the parents who are pulled apart out of the home. The fight for survival, where most parents have to both, work in the home to be able to raise their children comfortably. And so the societal programming and the religion. Religion's a huge topic on N5D, how it can be like one of the number one things used as a siphoning control system. I'm sure you don't have anything to say about religion, Greg.
Nope.
Actually.
God, that's a show in itself. Forget it, though.
Actually,
yeah.
I've got a quote here.
Yeah, you do.
No, you got it pulled. Religion will eventually become as offensive and unacceptable as racism.
Yep.
Chris O'Dowd.
I thought that was such a great comment. I completely agree.
Yes.
Because basically, and I'll try to put this in a nutshell, which is almost impossible, but religion breaks down to subservience, control, and conformity. It's the same template as every government, and how is that doing us so far? It's basically the ring of power, and that's a wonderful. If you have the opportunity, it's a long video on YouTube, but you can find the full video on there. It's called Ring of Power, and they show how the Ring of Power is Washington, D.C., London, and the Vatican City. All three are city-states. Washington is in charge of the military forces. London is in charge of the money, and the Vatican City is obviously in charge of religion. So you can see how they're all tied together.
Well, and so we have all of these constructs that were created in this matrix system, that we are now awakening to how they are siphoning our energy. Energy being whether it be through money or negative energy, basically sadness, causing, making alcohol legal where anybody can buy it, and then, depression is like usually what goes along hand in hand with alcoholism. Black market drugs, all kinds of things created. It was an amazing plan that was started hundreds of years ago, as far as the time we are in now, to be able to harvest our energy. And we have really realized a new meaning for harvest. I mean, harvesting energy could mean the fact that they store up all of this negative energy that they're pulling from us in like the astral realm, and then coming in, and different races are able to access that in the astral realm and harvest it. Now that's just part of the Lily interviews that I listened to from Lisa Harrison and Brian Kelly. And you could, I posted that on my wall on Michelle Walling, the Collective Imagination show from September. There's 2 of them.
And before you get into that, I just want to touch on the harvest real quick. There's an article on n5d.com called, what does the harvest really mean? And I want people to think about that, because this is based basically on the Law of One and the channelings of Carla Ruckert. And when I first read that, I found it so friggin' amazing. It's a beautiful piece of writing. But the more I thought about it, you look at who she's channeling, and it's Ra, who is the sun god. And I forgot through the etymology who he broke down to through, I think it was either...
Was it Marduk?
Marduk, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. And to be harvested... As Michelle was saying, is it our energy? Is it our soul? Is it our body? What do you harvest when you harvest something in the fall? You harvest corn. So to me, something's not right about this. Like I tell everyone on N5D, always use your own discernment. But to me, there's something not right about this Law of One harvesting. And whether it's your energy, whether it's your physical body, just use your own discernment and go with them. But getting back to what you were saying about the Wingmaker stuff and the Lily interview.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they were pretty much tied together. But basically another word for harvest though there's the other ETs that are doing channelings that are saying that they are coming to harvest their children.
True. And
that could mean they're talking about ships landing, and if the ships were to come, then you have this strong feeling to get the hell off this planet. But on the other hand, do you really know who's coming to get you? I mean, if there's a false light matrix at the end of the tunnel after you die, and they talk you into giving up your power and saying, yeah, I'm going to go back down, well, maybe they've created a 5D Earth in the 4th dimensional matrix, and they're saying, congratulations, you've done your work, come with us and let's go to 5D Earth. I mean, there's so many things that you need to question these days, and that is the biggest realization I think that we've come to, Greg, is that you could basically take all these different snippets from different things and make a big picture out of it, but until something happens in our reality, we really don't know what is happening other than what's in front of us. And what's happening for us is that we have realized that the body does have something to do with it. And perhaps it's the fact that the body is made out of organic earth materials, and earth is made out of, the original template of earth was made out of organic materials. And some say that may be dark matter, which dark matter doesn't mean like the dark beings, doesn't mean the bad guys. It means that 95% of our universe, don't quote me on that number, is made up of dark matter, and the other part is light. And so if if the light is actually the path that we've been on, when, Creator Source says, let there be light, the light was sent out from Creator to go forth and experience, and that was separation from Source right there. And so light equals separation, and you're in, this light matrix, and then there's this overlay that's placed on top of that matrix. And then now we may find that we're in another overlay, or another matrix within a matrix when we incarnated onto the planet. So how do we get out? That's basically what we've been trying to figure out, because we not only want to share that information with people, but, and like I said before, if we were to go out of body before some miraculous thing might occur where we don't have to leave our body,
The cosmic wild card.
That's exactly what we're getting to here. So Greg posted an article. Today's article was actually called, I've got it right here, Beyond Imagination, the Cosmic Wild Card. And, we don't want to put any false hope into anybody here, but let's be blunt here. If things continue the way that they are, with all of the radiation from Fukushima, which nobody's reporting, but it's still going on, with all the GMOs, with the chemtrails, and everything that's happening here, their plan is genocide, to knock people out. It won't be long before we or our family or whatever, if the people that aren't raising their vibration, aren't able to heal themselves, end up, getting sick and dying, So there has to be a cosmic wild card. There has to be something. We all feel it in our hearts. We know that there's got to be something that we don't know about. If you were on a tactical war team, a tactical war, one side of the war or the other, you wouldn't go tell people what your ace in the hole was. And perhaps that's what is coming, is something that they haven't told us about. They meaning either the Pleiadians or, all these other beings that, channeled material. We've talked about that. Most channeled material is false light material, just geared towards giving us some kind of hope that never comes, and then we get disappointed and they feed off of our negative energies.
Well, one thing I want to jump in on, though, too, is getting back to what you were saying about other dimensions and higher dimensions and stuff like that. What we do know is that there are, matter of fact, we here at the N5D studio, we have this board of truths, and we write down our truths. What we do know is what's going on above us are these galactic wars. The Orion Wars have been going on for what seems like eons, perhaps. But, and what they say in alchemy is as above, so below. And you look around, what's going on Earth, is a complete reflection of what's going on in the galaxy above us. So, there's another way of looking at as above, so below, which is as within, so without. Now, that can be completely different from as above, so below. As within, if you're within and peaceful and creating that harmony, that's what you're going to create on the outside. So you can change everything on the outside from within.
What do you say we jump to a caller right now? Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. Well, area code 512. You didn't have your hand up. I apologize. Do you have anything you'd like to add to our discussion tonight? Area code 512? Well, I jumped the gun on that one. Sorry about that. Go ahead and continue listening. Mm-hmm. And I have another caller here, Andrew Fisher from Nature of Reality Radio. Welcome to the Cosmic Awakening Show.
Hi, and thank you for mentioning my radio show.
Welcome to N5D Radio also.
Right. Well, I don't think it's important for me to waste time plugging my show, so let's just move on to the important stuff.
It's all good, brother.
The archons. Yeah. You do remember what I told you last time I called into this show about Zachariah Sitchin being victimized by timeline watchers who didn't want people to know that his first 3 books are very accurate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Michelle, I was actually trying to ask you that because I remember you wrote in your article, some article on on N5D.com where you mentioned you worked for the Vatican. You got that stuff about him being a 33rd degree Freemason from that documentary, the Golden Web. Is that right?
Greg, did you get that stuff from? I don't know.
There's several sources I've got it from.
I
don't specifically remember right now.
Basically, when I got to the last book on Sitchin, I couldn't read it without falling asleep, and that usually means that there's disinfo and it's going down the wrong path for me and that they're turning off my attention span to where I can't finish it. But basically, when I did first read Sitchin's material, it opened my mind to a new possibility of the origins of humankind, and that was really what I needed out of Sitchin's stuff. I knew at the time I had no idea that I was going to find out the true origins and bloodline of Anu's sons, Enlil and Enki, and the fact that most of the false light, quote, gods, unquote, are basically posers, and are, probably Enlil or Enki or Anu as far as that goes. Anu, as far as I know, has not incarnated onto the planet, so he sent his sons to incarnate and to be in charge of humankind and creating the body that would allow them to harvest our energy.
Yeah, and Sheldon Neidl and Andrew Bartzis have talked about how the Archon matrix control system has actually been encircling the Earth, around the Earth, for 900,000 years. And Sheldon Neidl has used the term Anunnaki to describe the people who put that matrix system around the Earth for that long. Although George Kavassalis did explain to me the term Anunnaki actually refers to a hodgepodge of extraterrestrial races, both good and bad, who are the children of a universal geneticist entity known as Anu, and the ones from Nibiru are just one faction of that. And Andromeda Council contactee Tolek, he explained that the real Illuminati forces, the real wizards behind the curtain behind the Illuminati, well, yes, the reptilian aliens, but the Anunnaki from Nibiru, apparently they're the ones responsible for all the genetic connections that are unique to the Illuminati bloodlines, the DNA connections, which I guess makes sense because they're the children of a universal geneticist. But this is something where Sitchin left off at. Do you maybe subscribe to that idea?
Greg?
That's pretty loaded, but I've got the whole thing about Nibiru. There's so many people that are out there saying, "Oh, Nibiru's on its way," and that explains all the the massive changes within our solar system. But there's so many other things that could be causing that. And that a lot of this stuff is included in my article that I put out yesterday. The cosmic wild card. The changes in our solar system could be from cosmic rays. It could be from the photon belt. It could be the galactic super wave. It could be the cosmic bubble, the galactic ribbon. There's so many things that it could be causing it. Now, if there was, Nibiru, and it was within, our solar system, surely there'd be amateur photographers that would be able to take pictures of it. And from what I've seen, there's nothing that is definitive proof that it's anywhere near us.
Well, that's the thing is, excuse me, Andrew, is we can only deal with what's really in front of us at this point. I think that we had to study a lot of those things to open our mind to any possibilities, but I think that it's really we only have a very small portion of the whole picture as far as Nibiru goes and the Anunnaki. But yes, I do agree that the Anunnaki are part of the archonic system. I do not think that they are the archons themselves.
No.
I feel like the archons could have even come from another universe, personally. So I think the Anunnaki, yes, they're part of the part of the archonic system, but I don't believe that they're the head chiefs in charge.
I agree.
Well, they're not the head chiefs in charge. I was just talking about in regards to the Illuminati. And, well, it's going to be kind of hard for even amateur astronomers to find Nibiru. I mean, Bartzis did say there are 66 planets in our solar system. And not only that, Tolek, he also told in his interview with Alfred Weber, said that these aliens watching over us during the 2012 end of the Mayan calendar, the malevolent forces on Earth were trying to create literally a Nibiru flyby by making people think that it's going to happen, to put more fear on Earth. And because whenever Nibiru does come by in its orbit, It has to do with fear on planet Earth, astrologically and metaphysically speaking. So these ETs, in order to prevent that from happening, they put Nibiru in an orbit that's way above the plane of planet Earth. I mean, you can't prove this. It's just ET contactee material. But I don't know. Maybe what do you think about using ET contactees as sources? You guys think that's maybe a little too much?
No, I mean, I think anything to get our hands on information for those of us who are just wanting to seek the truth is fine, as long as you use your own discernment. The thing is that Greg and I haven't really gone deep into our, inside to think or talk about Nibiru, so we don't have a lot of firsthand experience on how that feels. I mean, there's so much disinformation out there. There's people that say Nibiru's actually here, it's hiding on the dark side of the moon. There's people that say that Nibiru came December 21st of 2012 and did a big harvest out of the astral realm.
Well, they're saying that the orbit, because unless you're at the South Pole, you're not able to see its trajectory now.
Well, I mean, I think if Nibiru was on an orbit, I think Nibiru is a spaceship, so Nibiru could fire it up and get out of orbit. So, that just opens up a whole new can of worms.
And one thing I really want to touch on too is the system of control. If you look at the pyramid, a lot of people think that world leaders are at the top, or the Pope or the Queen or whatever. It's not even close. I mean, at the top you probably have some kind of archonic force. Below them, maybe the Anunnaki. Below the Anunnaki, the next level would be lower level dimensional extraterrestrials, reptilians, greys, alpha draconians, whatever. Below them, you have the shadow government. Below them, you have corporations. And then below them, you have world leaders, because as you know, through lobbying, the corporations have more power that actually end up enforcing whatever the world leaders end up dictating. So, I mean, where we are in the grand scheme of the pyramid, we're way down there. But what they don't want us to know is how powerful we really are. And, these people that are in control, that think they are the blue bloods, those with the bloodlines of the 13 families, they think that their blood is the royalty, but it's the exact opposite. We are all, those who don't have that, it's the exact opposite. We are the genetic royalty of the universe.
So I don't know if we quite answered your question, Andrew. Did we?
Oh,
I mean, that's about as much as we know.
It was not so much a question. It was just to make light of a nice radio show conversation. That's all. But yeah, there's so many different extraterrestrials on the Archon control system. You really can't pinpoint them all. So I just got to keep doing the research.
I really enjoyed listening to your show. Where could people find your show, Nature of Reality?
Plug it.
All right. If you insist, I plug it.
We do.
Wednesdays from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, blogtalkradio.com. Just type Nature of Reality Radio in the search, and you'll find it. I do upload all my shows to YouTube. Unfortunately, I won't be using Facebook anytime soon to upload the shows, because the Facebook Nazis have banned me again from so many things, to the point where I think I'm going to have to make another account. So that's one little downside there. But other than that, the show's going along pretty smoothly.
Well, trudge on, Andrew. You provide a lot of different various perspectives on things, and
yes,
we really enjoy listening to you, and we thank you for calling in to the show.
Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Take care.
Good night.
All right, take care. Andrew, on my In5D radio show, all the way back to when I was co-hosting with Heidi, and through Kendra and Sherry. He's been a regular call-in, and I always enjoy his feedback.
I do too. And so let's jump back to Greg. I'm just going to ask you, basically, I was getting to how we were trying to exit the matrix, and how we were thinking that our bodies were made of an organic substance that may possibly be the dark matter which everything is created from, and being able to remember how to manifest, create anything that we could possibly need out of the background energy or the dark matter could possibly mean that our bodies could be a way to have a stargate or a connection that goes to Earth, and Earth may have that dark matter in its core which is a direct link back to source. And that may possibly be a way to exit the matrix, but not to leave this reality, but to be able to become or join or access our multidimensional selves outside of this matrix, bring that information or knowledge or power, ability back here and change this reality.
You know, sometimes we've all heard that saying, you can't see the forest for the trees, you know, and sometimes the answer might be so obvious that we overthink. One thing that I've been telling a lot of people is about the Schumann resonance. I found this Russian website. This is the only place I can find it, and if you go onto N5D, you can find the link to it as well. Just once again, go up to the upper right-hand corner of any page and type in Schumann resonance and the word link, and you'll find that link to the Russian website. As a matter of fact, or just go to N5D News, because I post the daily Schumann resonance each day. Now, for thousands of years, the Schumann resonance has been said to be at 7.83 beats per, I guess beats, what they're calling it, or per second, or I'm not sure exactly what the terminology of that was, but that was the number that they associated with it. And the Schumann resonance is basically the heartbeat of the planet, the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And it's been at this one set rate for so long. Now, I've seen it since I've been recording the daily Schumann resonance. I've seen it as high as 8.5. So what that's telling us, and just yesterday it was at 8.35. So what that's telling us is that Mother Earth is raising her vibration, and she's giving us an opportunity to raise with her. So, perhaps, if Mother Earth is organic, and I believe just Earth and the Sun are the only organic planets or bodies within our system. If she's raising in her vibration, and a lot of people are noticing the same thing in the Sun, we don't know what the resonance of the Sun is, but a lot of people have noticed that it's gone from yellow to a white color. Something's happening right now, and this might be our out. If she's raising in vibration, and we can just simply tune in to her, pay attention to her, send her love, go out and be in nature, perhaps that is the exit within itself. It could be that simple.
Well, and I would also say that there are a lot of people that have different paths on this planet, and not everybody is ready to exit. Excuse me, just a moment. Not everybody's ready to exit this incarnation system. There are some people who may want to go another round of incarnation. There are some people that may want the opportunity to go off with the light forces and have an experience on a archonic matrix 5D planet that's a copy of the real Earth that we're trying to get to. There may be people who, the dark forces, who are here to provide the experience, and they're not done, and they've stored up enough energy stores from siphoning our energy that they are going to take this experience and continue it either in the third dimension on another planet or in a fourth dimensional capacity somewhere else. There may be people that want to go with them and help join them to do that. So this is an individual choice. This is an individual searching and yearning for what you're here to do in this lifetime. And for those of us, I think, that are truth seekers and are continuing to look outside of ourselves to try to find these answers, I urge you to simplify things and just feel, from all of the times that we've written articles on how to raise your vibration, does it feel right when you're raising your vibration? Do you feel like you're on the right path when you're doing the things that we've talked about? If it's just as simple as, we've been overthinking all the different things going on. There's been a lot of things created in the New Age, which was created by, the New Age religion was created by Henry Kissinger back at the time of the hippies who became, they started awakening. They were our predecessors to awakening to that there's more to life than just doing. It's interesting if you think about
that's the whole Pluto and Leo generation that lit the fire for the rest of us.
Yeah,
I love that generation.
Yeah, if you think about the 1950s where everything was beaver cleaver, and then the 60s where everybody was smoking pot, having sex, doing drugs, listening to rock and roll, and basically doing acid. Dropping acid was the doorway into the astral realm to be able to experience more than just yourself. Take your consciousness out of this body and go on a trip, basically. Mm-hmm. That's when things really started opening up the mind to understanding that we may just possibly be spirits having a physical incarnation experience here on the planet.
And getting back to what you were just saying too, everybody has their own path to follow and their own free will as well. So it's up to that person. We're not trying to tell anyone to do anything specifically. If you feel that you need to go through the false tunnel of light, even if you have a question about it and you're thinking, well, maybe that's where I need to go anyway. You see your friends and family that have deceased and they're waving you in, and go there. If you feel like you want to be part of the archonic forces, if that's what's really drawing you in, do it. This is your life path. For us, we want out.
I'm done.
I want out of this. I'm done with this whole reincarnation cycle, as far as I'm concerned, and hopefully some portal will open up, and I'm diving right through it.
Yes, I just basically I call this the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again. However, to look at it from a higher perspective, knowing that this lifetime is only a blip in our eternal reality, I have to say that I didn't just come here to basically, I didn't just come here to do this lifetime and to wake up and say, okay, I'm done. I came here to communicate with other people who are waking up to what's happening and to spread the word like wildfire across the world, because I don't think that the dark beings thought, the archons and their minions, I don't think that they thought there'd be as many people waking up as there are now. It has been amazing what has happened. And I'm going to say 5 years, but I'm also going to say this year has been crazy. Remember when we posted that article, Greg, on the number of people who had done unique visits to N5D, mm-hmm. and we ran the numbers? And
yes.
There was like this huge peak at the end of last year, mm-hmm. basically.
Yeah.
October, November, December 2013. It has really it doubled over like at least 2 or 3 times between then and now, the number of actual visitors. We haven't done any different type of we haven't done any advertising.
No.
So it's just basically there for.
It's the quality of material. People know that when they come to N5D, we're pretty much going to tell them we're the bear shit in the woods. Plus, we're going to give light and fluffy articles as well. But we're also going to we're the kind of people that are going to tell you the truth, whether it hurts you or us. But it has to get out there. And I'm going to put it with a positive twist. I'm going to look at the bright side of everything that's out there. There's some information that I'm like, I'll tell Michelle, I'm like, I don't know if I can post this. And there's still a couple articles that we've talked about, like what might happen in the upcoming years around 2023, some information that I was told about. I don't think people are ready for it. But, I want to tell everyone, I want them to know that we will cover every base, and we're going to be as positive as we can about it, because I firmly have great faith in humanity. I know we're going to win this. The light always wins. And it's not the false light that wins. It's the real organic light. And we're going to win this. And we know that we're on the precipice of something huge right now. And that ties into the article I put out that came out today. There's all sorts of things that are going on. There's so many things that are working in our favor. But is there a galactic wild card? And I asked that as a question at the end of the article. Is there something that we didn't cover? Because we're all feeling that there's something that could happen that would happen within the blink of an eye. That's just going to turn things around in an amazing way.
I agree. I mean, it could be so many things like you talked about in the article, but I just do want to point out that even if it doesn't happen in a blink of an eye, just look at where we've come.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've been on my awakening path for 4 years, and I wasn't the same person 4 years ago, not anywhere near. I mean, I'd say 180 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't the same person, I would say, 6 months ago. And I'm not the same person as when you met me almost a year ago.
Yeah. You know, I posted a picture on the N5D Facebook wall, and it's a quote of mine, but it's so true. And it says, as each new person awakens, the timeline changes. Hence, an alternate reality becomes our current reality. So when one person awakens, so many people will say, well, you know, what can I do? I feel like I can't do anything to change anything that's going on. Well, if you're awakened, you already have changed that alternate reality, a parallel universe. And the more that you keep working on this, you know, and the more that other people wake up, and that just involves maybe even talking to other people. You know, you're at the grocery store. You could say something as simple as, oh, wow, I didn't realize there's so much high fructose corn syrup in this product. Just getting people to open up their minds is changing the paradigm. And, you know, as more and more people awaken, and we've seen this rise exponentially on N5D, the viewership here, they know that they're going to get quality material here, and we're just not going to fluff up everything necessarily. We're going to tell them exactly what they need to know as it comes in.
Yeah, I mean, it really puts me in a hard position to write about something that I know is not going to get a lot of, quote, likes, unquote. Yeah. But I know that I'm putting something out there. It may not be the most popular article, but if I can help one person that has been thinking about their chakras or astral travel or, you know, their relationship for that matter, if I could just help one person, then I feel like I'm fulfilling my role that I came here to play. So I do want to talk about astral travel with you, Greg.
Okay.
You know, I posted that article, Why Astral Travel, and it bombed. Basically, you know,
I thought it was awesome.
Well,
I loved it.
I think I'm on the right track. If you have chakras that are energy systems, and the pineal gland basically is a doorway to the astral realm, it seems. I mean, astral travel, basically to astral travel, you put your consciousness into your pineal gland and you try to push your spirit out of your body and go flying around in the astral realms. And my question is, why? Why would you want to do that?
Well, you know, it's funny because through my awakening when I was 11 or 12, that was one of the reasons that I pursued that book about black magic, was about astral projection, and it fascinated me. But, it's funny, too. As it turned out, I never learned it at that point in time. And down the road, I think it was 2 years ago, I said, okay, that's it. I'm going to learn how to do this. So I kept doing it and kept trying. And finally, I started lifting out of my body. And as soon as I started lifting out, my cell phone rang. And that's a huge lesson to learn. If this is something you want to experience, then make sure that your cell phone's turned off. But, to me, that was also a sign saying maybe this is something I shouldn't be doing. But conversely, like I've said with just about everything else, leave yourself open to possibilities, use your own discernment. What I would like to do, I'd still like to perhaps try it out, and maybe I can find like different portals or whatever that can help lead us. If we get to that point of where, or even if I die an organic death, I'll have an idea of what exists on the outside, and maybe I'll have a better idea of where to go. But once again, where am I really going if it's all within the matrix?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that there's anywhere that I want to go if indeed the matrix is all of the dimensional construct and the hierarchy is part of the matrix for this experience. I don't think, since I feel like I'm done with this experience, I don't think that the astral realm is somewhere I want to go. I know people like George Kavassilis have been astral traveled, been all over the astral realm, have run into the Galactic Federation of Light, and he's the first one to tell you that they just hook, line, and sinker brought him right in, and next thing you know, he's doing videos holding up his hand saying, I am from the Galactic Federation of Light. I mean, basically, they just roped him right in, and I don't think those beings are the beings that I want to communicate with or to be misled, into the false light, and try to, allow them to rope you into being a leader of basically distracting you from anything other than going within yourself. Now, there's another article I wrote, Going Within. It's about going within, and you can either, when you get on N5D on the search on the top right-hand side, you can either type my name, Michelle Walling, or you can type those keywords in, like going within or astral travel, to pull up those articles. But basically, it's what is going within. And Greg, what would you say going within actually means to you?
Ultimately, going into your heart center. Not necessarily the heart chakra, but the heart center. It's
just simply, to me, as easy as imagining that you are your being of your eternal essence. I think some people call it their I am presence, their source self. It's the fire, the light within you that makes your heart beat. It makes your lungs expand and breathe. It keeps all your organs going, and is basically, the seed of your soul.
It's the spark of creator.
Right.
From the organic creator.
Right. And so when you take your attention into that part of you, going within, to me, just simply means acknowledging who you are as a spark of creator and being with yourself and spending those moments with yourself. And when you do that and you acknowledge yourself, that opens up the doorways for your higher self, your guides, or your future selves, or whatever you'd like to call them. It opens up the doorway for them to begin to communicate with you through different things like synchronicities, and leading you to read a certain article and then confirming with another cute little 1111, or looking at the clock and it being 2:22, or all these different things. So going within just means acknowledging that that you are a spirit, that you are source, creator, a spark of that being within this body and this physical experience in the now moment.
Just getting back to the astral projection topic too, I would honestly, I don't think I would discourage anyone from astral projecting. The Rosicrucians have a belief, and I wrote an article on this, and there's a video too on YouTube. The video is called "Your Goal in Life is Not to Be Happy." Now, the Rosicrucians believe that your goal in life is to experience as much as you can possibly experience, and within those experiences, you'll find happiness. So, who knows? If astral projection is something you want to try, I'm not ruling it out that I won't do it again, but just be careful. At least you have this insight of what you might be seeing, because you're still within the matrix. So you'll if you do it, you'll have a different perspective.
Yeah, see, I think it's an individual thing, because I don't think that I'm just here to experience. Mm-hmm. I think I'm here for a much greater purpose, and I think I have planned thousands of years for this time. I feel like some people are even here, like when we raise the base of consciousness by raising the vibration, we not only are helping humanity, but we're helping the planet, and she's helping us. But it could be possible that we could be helping every one of our predecessors on our bloodline, our parents, our grandparents, wiping out, going into the past and wiping out their karma, or helping their group, our soul group, advance by just being the successful one in our group doing the work. Or perhaps we're helping a whole race of another extraterrestrial beings advance to the next level of their journey. So there's just a lot of different things that we could be doing that we really don't realize how important this is, but yet I just want everybody to realize that it's not only important, but it's actually a lot simpler than we think. There's just been a whole lot of confusion around so many things.
You know, Michelle, I think what we're going to do right now is we're going to take another caller, and I'm looking at area code 615. I'd like to welcome you to the Cosmic Awakening Show.
Hey, folks, this is Tyler calling from Tennessee.
Hi, Tyler. How are you?
Hi, Tyler.
Doing very well. It's a great, beautiful evening here. I just wanted to thank you guys for continuing to put out all the amazing stuff about, raising your vibration above a level where basically the archons cannot even touch us, because we basically are sovereign individuals, and unlike other beings who incarnated here, we can basically shut ourselves from all those contracts and just stand in our own heart center, which was what you guys were just talking about. And I totally have been vibing on the seat of the soul, like really going into your internal heart space, that area like kind of behind your breastplate, and just kind of feeling like the pulse of our heartbeat, and how we can feel our pulse everywhere in nature when we expand it out. So that's kind of that's what I've loved about astral projection, is just expanding your consciousness, even if it's just barely beyond your epidermis, right beyond your skin touch, and you can kind of feel the area beyond your skin. It's great to talk to you guys again. It's been great listening to you guys. How are you guys doing this evening?
I haven't heard you calling in on the show in a while.
Yeah, where you been, Tyler?
I've been doing some Avatar Energy Master Institute, and I've been doing that. Just been taking some time to do that a little bit, kind of taking a break, and I go out in my backyard, and I've got like a really nice big open space, and I'll just watch those videos, and I've just got a big open space where I can work with like the elements, and how that role that we play within the elements, and how we are kind of that element of surprise, I think, to the beings who didn't expect, exactly what you guys are talking about, as many people to be where we are today. And it's like, the beautiful thing is like, that I've come to realize is we are already there. It's like we're just kind of catching up to our higher self, and, the plan that we've established for ourselves. And we each have our own individual twists and turns and lessons still to be learned. And I like, as far as those portals manifesting, it's like, I feel those kind of like the center of the heart is kind of like that portal where we can, instead of going towards the false light matrix, I definitely know, and I've learned from this incarnation, that instead of going towards the light, I would, if anything, turn inwards towards myself, if anything, collapse inwards and retreat towards basically my own internal space. That, my consciousness would, I would just be like, wait, I'm just floating out here, and I'm in the middle of consciousness. I'm just going to not collapse in, but basically turn into my own higher self and turn into the best representation of what purity and sacredness is about. And each of us is able to embody that when we're feeling the love of nature, because she is pure, she is sacred. She's just been stuck in this whole muck, but she's endured, and if anything proves, like, we're all still here today, and we are resilient. Like, we're here to continue on this journey for to make it a grand unfolding of our destinies, because we're basically the authors. We're the authorities now, because we know that we can stand in our own power and write our pages differently if we want to. And it's about doing
exactly
what your heart, what you feel within your heart center is about, and it's beautiful. It's just,
yeah. One thing we haven't talked about that I had on my list, and I'll just go ahead and bring you into this conversation, Tyler, is basically manifestation. And every moment that we make a choice in every moment. We are creating our reality by choosing, and we are flip-flopping on different timelines, and by making a choice every day. So have you noticed how manifestation has become easier and easier, and how you're basically realizing how you're able to manifest what you need?
Absolutely, and it's necessity meets it almost seems to be happening faster. Exactly, yeah. It's just everything that we would feasibly need in this reality, or those lessons or those experiences, however they would manifest, those things are just happening faster and faster. And it's like we're getting those lessons and we're getting that information. It's like anyone who spent, any time sun gazing knows the amazing information that we're actually receiving every minute. It's just, we're trying to catch up to it and make sense of it in our own times. And it's it's happening faster, and the manifestation of even noticing like the subtle things, like, the subtle energies of that you put out when you look at someone and you say "I love you" without saying it. That was something that I read from a book called Og Mandino, The Greatest Salesman in the World. But it talks about looking at someone and saying that "I love you," but not saying it aloud, because it radiates, makes your eyes sparkle. You smile brighter. You unfurl your brow. It's like there are little subtle things that happen when you do little things, and those are manifestations, and those are very powerful. And I just think people are understanding more and more to not give those experiences away, but to realize that they are actually experiences that you are manifesting, and the feelings that you are having are very real. Like when you feel that love that you send to another person, like that's real. Like that is what the communication, or the basis of communication, is about. That wave.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because when I go on the beach, I do what I call a love bubble, and I'll create this huge bubble, and it'll go all the way out into the water and all the way up to where the buildings meet the beach. And inside of my bubble, and when anyone enters it, I'm telling them I love you. And when I see people, when I pass people on the beach, I'll look at them, I'll smile, I might say good morning, but inside I'm also saying I love you. And people, those who are listening, you can do this if you're driving in your car, you see somebody driving toward you, just smile, say I love you in your mind, and just send out that positive thought, that positive energy, because every thought is energy and every thought matters. Absolutely. That's right. Do you feel like it's from the water that you've been drinking, though? Because you still drink your intention-infused water, right? Yeah, ozone water, yeah. The ozone water, man. Yeah, love it. It's just like a natural cause and effect of it, but it's just when you put the intention and the awareness to do it, I know what you mean, man. Yeah, that's the icing on the cake. Yep. But yeah,
I have a question.
I would encourage. Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Tyler, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have a question out of the chat room for you, from my friend Jeff Gates. And I know that we were talking about the astral realm, and I know that you've actually experimented with some psychedelic drugs. And my friend Jeff wants to know about, what do you think about the astral realm and your journeys through the astral realm?
That's a great question. I believe that from doing psychedelics that we all do it. We all have those little hallucinations behind our eyelids. It's more like you can kind of see shapes moving, like when you close your eyes sometimes, like but it's like that's like part of like the world that exists like as a different waveform, or as like waveforms that you are emitting, and then you're basically, because what it's helped me come to realize is that our bifocal eyes are actually emitting light as opposed to receiving light. So it's like we are actually generating light from within our center, and we are putting light out through our senses, but basically, and we're also emitting audio from our ears as opposed to hearing it necessarily, so it's kind of fun, but we're almost like hearing what we want to hear, because we are basically putting sounds out and we're putting sights out that we want to be aesthetically pleasing. So a lot of what I've learned from psychedelic experiences to accept and surrender to whatever you are experiencing or seeing, whatever you just take a look around and like perceive where you are, and that's like, even that in and of itself is like changing your perception by changing your viewpoint of how you see yourself in the room or seeing the room around you. So it's just a lot of acceptance to what is happening in the moment, which I think is just kind of that moment that people would call like a heartgasm or like a mindgasm, where your heart or your mind explodes with like love or just knowing that pure, that you are like you are here, you are present, and it's like that breakthrough of not manifesting almost the external by going out, but you're realizing that you are in everything. And basically when you're connecting to like a tree, or if you're outside and you're, connecting your feet to the ground, you are basically, you are part of that. You are basically that channel or that connection that extends that energetic flow. And you basically do this with sight and sound and feeling as well, and smell. But the senses, I believe, like it alters your perception, so you feel like, sounds coming out of your ears or lights coming out of your eyes, but it's like you can't necessarily quantify that and prove that in today's science, but it's like in everything that's happening, more awareness is coming to the conclusion that we don't know diddly squat about anything, and the programs and that the apps running on top of the programs are basically just kept us here to be deceived, or to enlighten us to the point, or to gain enough know-how to exit the system, and to know that, and to always remember that we can always exit the system by standing in our sovereignty and just saying that, like, I am enough, like I don't have to do or be anything, I can just stand and talk and have creative ideas, and that's enough. And that's why I think we're seeing a lot of people moving towards sustainability ideas a lot right now.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for, kind of, but thank you so much for sharing all that with us about, basically projecting your reality and everything. And I appreciate you calling in. And I thought Larry would be calling in tonight, but he's probably watching Thursday Night Football. Larry, if you're out there, I miss you, Larry. I'll be talking to Larry next week. So on the show. So Tyler, thank you so much for calling in. We always enjoy hearing from you.
Thank you, guys. It's great talking to you. Hope you guys continue. I'll stay tuned. Keep on listening. I would encourage everyone to check out PleiadianExpressProductions.droppages.com. That's kind of what I've been working on, but that's a little something that me and Larry have been working on the side, but it's PleiadianExpressProductions.droppages. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
All right. Take care, brother.
Good night.
Okay. Good night.
All right.
So, did you want to put that call on hold that you took off?
Okay.
Okay, cool.
There we go.
All right, he's a little rusty, He's been, just sitting back eating bonbons, watching television.
Bonbons. if I were, they would be organic.
Well, the one of the last things I'd like to talk about is the future of N5D, Greg, because we have.
Oh, didn't you want to talk about that Lily thing?
Well, I have talked about that a little bit. Yeah, I've talked about that a little bit. Basically, about the Earth being organic and the body, the human body being made of the same material as the Earth, and basically having that organic source, dark matter that the astral beings do not have access to it.
Well, there was, I cut and pasted them. There was a couple questions from Elizabeth Hart. The first one was, what do you think of the Wingmaker's material the 2 websites, and especially interview number 5. And her second question was, what do you think of the Lily interview that Lisa Harrison did? She was not familiar with the Wingmakers and similar info. Could this all be disinfo?
Well, I tell you, the first thing that happened to me when I read the Wingmakers interviews was I had the same feeling of excitement, that I had come across some really wonderful information and it made sense to me and I liked the way it sounded. That's the same way I felt when I first listened to Andrew Bartzis. I was able to understand what he was saying. Now, whether all of this material is 100% accurate or not, including Bartzis or, Robert Morning Sky or anybody, I don't know. What I do know is that I got that excitement in my solar plexus and in my heart center, that I knew that there were truths that I could pick out that would just help me on my path go forward. One thing that Greg had for a red flag for the Wingmakers material was the fact that in number 5, the interview number 5, it basically explains that they had to use some deceitment or deceiving tactics or a little bit of disinformation on interviews 1 through 4 to kind of lure the reader in with some New Age tactics, to where and those were released, I think, in the 80s, I'm not sure, the 90s, but basically to prepare everybody for the information in number 5, which at the time people would not be open-minded enough or awake enough to accept into their heart center to try to feel into whether it was accurate or not. And so, he kind of thought, well, that didn't quite sound right to have to use a tactic of deception to bring truth. But still, to me, the bottom line is Wingmakers number 5, Dr. Neruda interview, really hit a lot of key points that I think I agree with. And there's also information from the latest Collective Imagination show that Lisa Harrison did with the group with Brian Kelly, that said that some of the Wingmakers material on one of their websites it has been altered and has been changed. So, we're back to square one. It seems like every time we get some great new information that we can say, is this right or wrong? First of all, nothing's 100% right. And second of all, we end up getting back to square one where we think, well, yeah, that could be true, but is it true? Well, what's in my reality to prove that it's true? I think that we're going to have an opportunity to visit our own Akashic records within our DNA and the Earth's Akashic records that we can access through our DNA, the solar system's Akashic records, the galaxy's Akashic records, and pretty soon, before you know it, we're going to have the truth within ourselves to be able to access within ourselves, and we're going to remember how to do that. So right now, yes, it's great to read all the things you can find on N5D, the Wingmakers material, Wes Penray papers, Cameron Day's information is all awesome. We resonate with those things. But is it the truth? I don't know.
The thing, too, about, and you did touch on it, thank you, about the Wingmakers is that they basically said that the first 4, additions, parts of it, were made up because of New Age. They tried to use all these New Age terms to get people in. And then when part 5 comes in, they're saying, well, we did, it was a bunch of crap, basically. We wanted to get your attention so we could tell you the truth. To me, I would never intentionally mislead anyone in that way. And to me, they lost all credibility completely by misleading people in order to tell them the truth down the road. Why waste people's time like that? Why insult our intelligence?
And see, I'm a little bit more forgiving. I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as the saying goes. I like to take the nuggets of truth, even if something is put out there as a channeling that has disinformation in it. I still like to sometimes listen to some things because something will resonate with me. What they do is they usually do like 80% truth, and then there's that 20% of disinformation where they're trying to lead you down either to have false hope or to do a certain spiritual practice that may open you up for them to feed off of you. So I'm kind of a little bit different in that respect. I don't throw everything out just because I do find where the disinformation lies.
Now, what did you think about the Lily interview?
I loved it. I thought the first one was very difficult to listen to because of the connection, the fact that she couldn't hear, and it took me a little while to get used to her accent. But I loved it, and I don't know if it was staged, planned, disinfo, or whatever. It felt right to me, and anything that feels right to me that gives me a little bit of encouragement to put that piece of the puzzle into my big puzzle and it fits. It's just like doing one of those big puzzles on the table. Like, oh, yes, I finally found that one. I've been looking for that one, and it fits right in there. Yeah, I really felt that way. Now, I could be laughing later on. What's true today may not be true tomorrow. I could be laughing later on when we find out something else, that fits better, into the bigger picture. But I loved it. I thought it was great. And the second interview was even better because they had a really good connection and they went deeper into the topics.
See, now, and I kind of have a different view on that, on the Lily interview. Basically, all of her material is taken from Ashayana Dean, the Wingmakers, Michael Tessarian, and David Icke. I mean, she's not really saying anything new. She's just regurgitating other people's material, yet she's saying it's through this channel. So to me, I'm a little bit more skeptical of it, but I will listen with an open ear and an open mind. But I don't know. My bullshit radar is going off on her, and that's my own truth.
And that's what I love about you is, first of all, you've always said that it's going to take a hell of a lot to make your jaw drop.
Yep.
And every time my jaw drops, I'm like, Greg, and you're like, that ain't making my jaw drop.
Nope.
So, so
I've seen a lot, folks. Nothing has made my jaw drop yet.
Yeah. Ashayana Dean, by the way, lives here in Florida and
Sarasota.
Yeah, not too far away. And just because we live by Ashayana Dean doesn't mean that we subscribe to her ETs, her ET group, who she represents. And
it doesn't mean we're bashing her either. On the same note, it's just, to me, it doesn't resonate with me because it's either her way or no way. And when people do that, there are other ways. And here's the great example too. Now, there's a huge discrepancy on which way the Merkaba rotates. According to Ashayana Dean, if you do it the way that Drunvalo Melchizedek says, you'll turn to space dust. But according to Drunvalo Melchizedek, if he says if you do it Ashayana's way, you'll implode. Now, I've tried it both ways, and here I am. So you guys figure it out for yourself.
Well, and here's another interesting thing. I had never heard of Ashayana Dean before, and I ran across one of her videos talking about, she had these really neat diagrams about the Earth and about how the Earth is, the time that we're coming to, it's like everything is in alignment in the universe for the Earth to be able to move through some kind of portal or to have some kind of, route away from here. And, all these things, I was mesmerized, and the things that she was saying was really making sense to me. And, of course, I went to you, Greg, and I said, have you ever heard of this lady? And you're like, yeah, why? And I was like, well, the stuff that she says is making a lot of sense. And then, and you had told me that, you thought of a lot of it was hot air and bullshit. But that whatever resonates with you, this is what he always says to me, whatever resonates with you, go with it.
I don't think I said it was hot air and bullshit, but it just didn't resonate with me. But what I can say, in Ashayana Dean's behalf, we have this program, computer program, where you can listen to a person's voice and you can tell which side of the brain they're using when they speak and whether they're basically lying or not. She believes in what she's saying, wherever she's getting her material channeled from. She firmly believes it. All I'm saying is I don't think it's the complete truth. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to use that statement because that's what you usually say. Yeah. Well, I say that for some channelers. Yeah, I won't name any of them.
We don't like to.
No.
It's not like we like to call anybody out or anything because, like you said, everybody's truth is their truth, and
exactly.
She has a group that she's representing that is bringing information forth, and for whatever that group's purpose is, that's their purpose. But that doesn't mean that that's our purpose or what we're here to do, or that we're even from the same group. And so here we all are full circle again.
Yes.
To so many people have different paths here, and that is, first of all, that's one of the reasons why there's so much confusion. Because there's not just one path here. There's so much information out there, and there are a lot of different paths. Some of it's false, some of it's true. You've got to think that's what discernment is all about, is going with what feels right to you. And then here we are again, what felt right to me 4 years ago, some of it doesn't feel right to me today. But that doesn't mean that I didn't need to come across that 4 years ago, because it was a stepping stone into a higher path of understanding, whether it be the fact that there is some really convincing New Age bullshit out there, or whether it be the fact that I needed to know about the Matrix in order to know about the false light matrix, or whatever is building upon another thing.
Right. And that's one of the things that we do say right on the front page of N5D. Always use your own discernment, and we try to put out as many possibilities as possible. And we try to cover all the bases. And what we will do is, the latest news that comes out, we're going to put it out there for you. And, don't necessarily, if it resonates with you, great, and because that's our truth right now. But if not, just keep reading, because there's going to be stuff that you will find that definitely does resonate. There's something for everybody on N5D, and the truth is coming up faster and quicker than ever before right now, and we've got some pretty huge articles coming up on N5D.
Yeah, one thing's for sure, that when we have a personal experience, we're going to write about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the future, some future exciting things about N5D. We had a change of chat rooms, and we are creating in the future, we're going to create a new chat room that is just for N5D. The last chat room was on Chitango, which is something that you could actually take that chat room and post it on, anybody could post that on their website. And it kind of got a little expansive, and there were some security issues, basically. So now what we've decided to do is go ahead and tell what we're looking into.
Yeah, there's a couple different chat programs that I'm looking into, and you'll have to have a Facebook profile to log on, number one, and it'll only be on N5D. But as before, you can come on N5D and chat with people 24/7. You can always find somebody chatting, because N5D reaches nearly 1 million people every month. And there's always somebody chatting. So if you're wide awake at 3 o'clock in the morning and you have a question about something, chances are there's somebody talking there that you can ask about it. So in a different time zone where it's still like maybe 3 o'clock in the daytime. So you can always find somebody. You're never alone with N5D. There's so many different ways you can connect with like-minded souls.
So also another thing that we've decided to dive into is the N5D store, which will be coming probably within a month or 2 months. We've partnered with a company that is, we have the rights to over 600 ebooks that you can purchase. I think they're really cheap, like $3.99.
Yeah.
Yeah, cheap and expensive, whatever, same thing. They're really inexpensive, and it's just going to expand our database even that much further, to be able to download ebooks on these topics that we have on N5D. And then we're also expanding that after we get that up and running. We have had N5D T-shirts before and coffee mugs and different things to basically, not as a money maker, but just to be able to have things for people. I drink my tea
every day,
coffee out of an N5D mug, and when Greg goes to the drum circle, he wears his N5D T-shirt, and it's a great conversation starter. And it's interesting, if anybody wears an N5D T-shirt out in public, you would be surprised at the people that recognize it. So that'll be fun to get T-shirts out there again, very reasonable for people to be able to wear and to help spread the awareness of what's happening on our planet right now. Another thing that we are going to expand further in the N5D store, past the T-shirts, mugs, and ebooks, would be metaphysical supplies and gifts. We want to run some lines of, Tibetan bowls and incense and
grids, energy grids.
Yeah, we are going to actually create energy grids for different purposes and clear the stones and program the stones for certain things. Put our energy into them. You and me. We're going to do that for energy grids. So, for instance, we might make a selenite and amethyst grid, and we would selenite is wonderful for clearing, and so an amethyst is wonderful for programming, healing or programming, different things. And we can do, we can set them out in the sun and then, put intentions and stuff. We can even set them in the Sarasota sand, in the 99% quartz crystal sand, and have them programmed with the Sarasota sand, and then send them to people. So the store, the chat room, that's all coming up. We're also having another conference next year. We're waiting on our keynote speaker, George Kavassilis, to let us know when he will be coming to the States, and then we will piggyback on top of his current, travel schedule. Because
he's already agreed to be our speaker.
Yeah, so it's just that we're trying to keep the costs down on the conference. We're trying to go ahead and get him over here for whatever else he's coming in on, and then pay for, of course, his travel here to either Florida or Texas, depending on where he's coming into the States. We will have a conference for you next year with George Kavassilis as the keynote speaker. And basically, I think raising your consciousness and vibration and all of the wonderful new things that we're learning is going to be the topic of that conference. So we're excited about that.
Definitely stay tuned to Michelle's radio show for more information about that.
Yes, and the last thing is we've kind of tabled the clinic for just a little while, the walk-in clinic, the alternative holistic healthcare clinic, not in our minds, but basically in physical manifestation at this point. We, our good friend Kendra Gilbert is going back to school to get her RN certification, so she can. There's a fine line right now is what we're walking on. If we were to open up a clinic, we would either have to be like a psychic center and do everything like I feel like I could do just by intention and hands-on healing. I think we could heal a lot of people. But for legality purposes, right now, in order to keep from getting shut down, I think the best way is to have a DO in there and a nurse and, a medical staff to be able to write diagnoses and do some other kinds of medical treatments. And
if there is any holistic practitioners out there that are listening, feel free to get in touch with either one of us via Facebook or the N5D Facebook page or our personal Facebook pages.
Yes, and I've had some amazing readings. I've talked about them a lot, and one of the readings that I did have said basically 2015 would be the year that we would be able to kick this off, and it doesn't have anything to do with me wanting to get this started. It's more of things have to fall into place in Gregg's life, and the right people have to come into his life to get this thing going. And so that's what we're waiting on, is that part of the follow through of his manifestation on this idea to be able to heal people with alternative ways, without traditional medicine, but without the liability. You basically put the information in front of the person who has the issue and let them make the choice. And there could be a lot of legal issues around that if someone were, for instance, to not believe in healing, and then something happened to them and they want to come back on you and say, well, you said you could heal me. This is all, here we are back square one again. We want to help people, but yet people aren't willing to help themselves sometimes. And you've got to just, really think things out and have, we've got to have the right people walk into our lives and say, let's do this. And it will happen. But right now it's kind of, we want to get these other things going as well. So that's exciting about N5D. And every day you post an article, Gregg, a new article that hasn't ever been published before. Every day there's a new article on N5D, correct?
There's new articles every day.
Are you on mute?
Oh, yeah, I am. Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, we do post new articles every day on N5D, and a lot of them are original, first time, never been published before on the internet. So definitely, you're going to find the newest and latest information here on N5D. So check in every day.
Now, every morning you get up early and you scour the alternative news and you pick out from your discernment, what seems like that people would be interested in hearing about.
Yeah, and it's everything from health to crop circles to the latest astrology reports. There's some amazing astrologers that I love following, like Tom Lesher, Kelly Rosano, Jim Delacoli, who I've had on N5D Radio several times. There's so many good ones out there, and I'll post those on there. Any awakening news, some truther stuff, and to be honest, there is some stuff that I will post by people who I think are possible disinfo, but occasionally they put out good stuff, like Alex Jones. There are a few exposés that they will put out that are the truth, and I will put those on there. For the most part, I keep away from him. But yeah, overall, it's a lot of great information, and it is basically the news that the mainstream media fails to report.
And I know a lot of people really appreciate that, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate you coming on the show. And basically, as we wrap this up, I do want to remind our listeners that Larry Locken will be joining me next week to interview Evie Lorgan. And we're going to, I think that's going to wrap up the Dark Force Archontic, theme that we've had here, and hopefully we can move towards how we're going to move out of this matrix. But she will be talking about how to recognize, the archonic relationships, and how if an archon or a dark being can't steal off of you or can't influence you anymore, oftentimes, sadly enough, if your partner is not aware of what's happening, they can move right in just by one little crack in the aura and be able to come in and manipulate them against you as well. And that sometimes is a way that they can steal your dark energy, is by getting to you through your partner. And so that's why I am just very fortunate, and I'm very thankful every day that my partner works as hard as I do to keep himself cleared and to keep himself of a high vibration. And I love you, sweetie, and I thank you for being on our show, and I thank you for allowing us to have this show as well. So.
Aw, I love you too, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I've had a great time, and maybe I'll come back with a show again on N5D Radio, but not anytime in the near future. Too busy. Way too busy. He's
enjoying focusing on N5D, and we're definitely growing. Oh, one more thing. Almost forgot. Tomorrow we're interviewing a lady who has had a successful magazine.
Oh, yeah.
And we are thinking about launching an N5D magazine where we will have articles that are not available on N5D, but more of a just in addition to N5D, and then later on, they will be available after a certain period of time, so we don't leave anybody out. But it will be like the first cut articles coming up for a magazine, and we're going to talk to her about the feasibility. We would definitely keep the cost down because it's not about, let's try to make $1 million off of, people who are seeking answers. It's not about that at all. But it's about expanding our team, and in order to expand our team, there has to be some kind of way that we can bring in income. And since we don't have income, I don't have another job. You don't have another job. This is it. We would like to share the platform and expand it with other people. In order to do that, most people need a job, and so we thought that we would look into the feasibility of this magazine. I'm very excited about it because we can bring so many writers in to write articles, and just I just can imagine it being on the bookshelves, being available. So we will just keep tuned into Cosmic Awakening Show, and we'll be sharing all this new information with you. And with that, I'd like to say good night to everybody listening, and to thank you everybody in the chat room that joined us tonight. I want to send everybody my love and to remind you to stay focused in your heart center and stay grounded, and we will all make it through this together. So good night, Greg.
Namaste.